I was asked the other day how my soil can support so many fruit trees, and that's a good question because my natural soil has very little fertility and is basically pure sand. Feeding a garden can feel complicated. Fertiliser schedules, ratios, and endless products. Today I'm going to show you a few simple ways that I feed my food forest naturally without worrying about any of that. As you can see behind me, some parts of my garden have absolutely taken off with the warmer weather and are in need of a bit of a haircut. We've had a cool change in weather, so I've decided to give my feed jar a bit of a prune, and this is one branch that I just cut off. It's covered in fruit and flowers, but it's going to reduce the pressure that's on the other trees so the fruit can get even bigger, and I can turn this into mulch to feed the garden. So that's where we chopped it. There's a lot of main stems on this feed jar because when it was a baby, my dog smacked it over and it ended up sending off lots of main branches, and I never corrected it. So instead of having one trunk like this one, it has got heaps, and it's made it a really wide bushy tree. So you can't even tell where I removed that branch from, and there's plenty of fruit still on this one and this one. And now it can put its energy into making the fruit nice and big. Now that we've cut all of this off, which is sad to see, all these little fruits, but let's turn this into mulch. So to start with, I'm going to just chop these branches into smaller pieces that will fit in the mulcher, and then a pile of the thicker branches that will not work in my mulcher. So like this trunk is too thick for my little baby mulcher, so we'll just cut that up into pieces. But starting a pile before I run that makes it a lot quicker and smoother to get the job done. And just like that, I have converted that big branch that was hanging over the neighbour's fence into a wheelbarrow load of mulch to feed the garden and get bigger and better fruit. Now this isn't going to go far, I'm just putting it straight back on the feed jar and a few other plants nearby, maybe the bananas, to give them some fresh mulch and nutrition. Instead of constantly adding synthetic inputs into my garden, I focus on growing mulch, pruning strategies, and letting everything stay in the garden to feed the soil. It's about working with what grows quickly in my climate and letting the garden provide the fertiliser. It's a bit more of a slow process, but I'm not mad about that. I'd rather have long-term sustainable growth that supports root development rather than force feeding them with any synthetic fertiliser. Because healthy soil is grown, not bought. And I'm putting it straight on top of the sweet potato. Doesn't matter, that is not going to die, it is most certainly going to grow back. Some of my more warmer loving plants, like my bananas, my papayas and my mangoes, this is their time to shine. They do a lot of their growth in the warmer months, well, most of their growth in the warmer months, so I want to make sure that they've got enough light and enough food. Now all of these ones here that look like bananas are in fact Queensland arrowroot, and I use these as support plants all around my garden to help provide shade for summer and also wind protection, and then I can chop them down and feed the plants. And they thrive in summer, so they have absolutely taken off. I'm going to prune some of them back, and one of my mangoes is completely hidden. You can't even see it anymore, so it's not getting enough sunlight, and I don't want to miss out on any of this growth period. So let's go sort that out. This is one of my favourite tools in the garden. It's a hori knife, and I use this to do most of my chop and drop, as well as digging up roots from the garden or planting seedlings. It's a really good all-rounder. It's serrated on one side and flat on the other, so you get the best of both worlds in one knife. It's also really good for harvesting your larger vegetables like your cauliflowers and your broccolis, those stems. It cuts through those really easily. And trying to remember to put my gloves on because I'm pretty bad at that. There's heaps of new ones coming through, so by me cutting these back, it's going to put the energy back into new ones, so it's going to repopulate very quickly, especially getting a little bit more light. So I can see one like this, it's starting to lean over. I'm just going to go in and cut it off at the base. And these thicker stems are really water filled and kind of like a banana stem, so the banana is going to absolutely love this. Lots of moisture, lots of food. It also helps me to try and keep on top of the grass and suppress that a little bit. So I'm going to take this one out as well. So tucked in here I do have a mango, which is doing really nice, but I want to give it a little bit more light. And this one here is starting to be really floppy in the wind, so it is smacking in, and I don't want it to damage any of this growth. So let's get rid of this one. So as you can see, it makes very light work of it without being too scary to use. I'm not sure I should be trusted with anything else at this point. And then I'm just popping that around the base of my mango without getting the strawberry. Here is getting annoying. I probably should have done this from the start. All right, it's time to get serious. So quick and easy. You may remember from my winter videos, a lot of my brassicas and leftover greens from the garden was used here as chop and drop. So I'm constantly adding layers of different types of greens, so there's different nutrients going back into the soil, as well as other natural fertiliser and soil building techniques, which you can find in my latest ebook guide. So there's a lot more light for the mango, but there's also some chop and drop to keep the moisture in and feed the plant. So same thing out here, there's actually a mango hidden in here. You can't even see it. So we need to let some light in for that poor mango, and at the same time we can give it a feed. There it is, tucked in there. So this is my blue java here, and I've got about 6 pups on the go at the moment, and I want to let a bit of light in for those. These tall Queensland arrowroots will just fall over anyway, so that I can already see some of them are lying flat along the fence. I'm also going to cut that back as well because it's very close to the trunk. If you hold it up a little bit as well, that makes it cut much easier. This one came out with a little bit of roots still on it, so I can replant that back in another part of the garden and it will send up lots of side pups. There's already one coming through here. A few of these low branches here I'm going to get rid of as well. So nothing too major, but we've now let some more light in, and so this mango is about to push new growth very soon. It's still nice and protected in there. A few lanky ones in here that I don't want falling over and crushing my little baby avocado. The majority of my chop and drop will be done after summer to let light in for winter, but going around and just doing some maintenance is going to help me capitalize on the growth of the plants that do grow the most during summer. So things like my papaya, my mangoes, my avocados, and my bananas are all growing as fast as they can during summer. So extra food, extra mulch, extra water retention, and extra light is going to benefit them. But I don't want to remove it all. We still get a lot of hot weather and we've still got a lot of high winds, and these act as a really good wind block for things that are more sensitive, like my avocados. And these big feed gels will be getting a hard prune after they've finished fruiting in autumn, so that I can create a lot more mulch and chop and drop and just keep them down in size. I have a small garden, so I don't need them to be massive, and regular pruning is going to help me keep them small and be able to have other things growing around them. So majority of these will stay until after fruiting, so I can get as much fruit as I can, and then we can use that mulch. You might decide to ease up and not do any watering because it's nice and cool. It's a really good time to catch up on your watering. Do a deep water because the plants are going to be able to absorb it. It's not going to dry off as quickly, so you can get a really nice deep water for some of your plants, and it can really help you catch up during the hot summer. My aim for my summer gardens was to get as much growth as possible to protect the garden, and it's worked in some areas. This area particularly has taken off and has had a lot of growth, because I would much rather have extra growth that I can cut back and feed the garden than have a really hot, dry garden that struggles to grow, like other parts of my garden that still need a bit of work. But it's always a work in progress, and this garden has grown a lot in a very short period of time. So if you were to delete all of these green banana looking Queensland arrowroots, it wouldn't look as lush and green. It would be a lot more sparse, but then it would be a lot hotter and things would grow a lot slower. And being able to chop back, like if you look at all of this is all going to be mulch to feed my garden. So the garden is going to grow a lot quicker having all of that biomass and that green material come autumn when we do a huge reset. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to see more from my urban food forest, and I will catch you in the next episode.